You know that familiar wave of social anxiety? That feeling you get? It isn't just a random fear. I invite you to think of it less as a condition and more as a distress signal sent from a much younger part of you. Drawing from the profound wisdom of Carl Jung, we call this the anxious inner child. And she is the true root of this anxiety, the part of us that learned, somewhere way back, that her worthiness depended on the approval of others. So our journey today isn't about managing symptoms. It's about going directly to that root. We're going to learn how to finally meet this child within, understand her fear, and begin the gentle, powerful work of healing her so we can finally find peace in ourselves. And for so many of us, this feeling, it's become a constant, unwelcome companion, hasn't it? It's that racing heart before you walk into a room, the mental gymnastics of trying to say the right thing, and then that heavy exhaustion that follows, just filled with self-criticism and doubt. We're taught to see this anxiety as a personal failing, right? A flaw in our character. We have to overcome or hide. But what if we just paused and asked a different question? What if instead of asking, how do I get rid of this feeling, we gently asked, what is this feeling trying to tell me? And that is the invitation for our time together today. We'll walk a path inward, a journey to understand the true source of this discomfort. We'll explore why this anxious part of us feels so terrified of rejection, and we'll discover the most empowering work a woman can do, learning how to become the calm, steady, and loving parent to herself that she's always needed. So my hope for you by the end of our journey is that you'll leave here not just with new information, but with a deeper sense of compassion for yourself. The goal isn't to emerge as a flawless social performer. It's to find a quiet, unshakable sense of safety within, allowing you to be more fully, more authentically you, no matter where you are. So, let's start at the beginning. What are we actually talking about when we use this term, the inner child? The core idea. I want you to think of it not so much as a literal child living inside of you, but more like the original blueprint of your emotional world. It's the part of your psyche that holds your earliest, most foundational experiences and the beliefs you formed from them. It's where you first learned what it felt like to be loved, to be safe, to be seen, or to feel the absence of those things. For many of us, this inner part is profoundly anxious. Not because it's flawed, but because it's incredibly intelligent. At a crucial time in life, it learned that the world could be an unpredictable place, and its core mission became ensuring your survival. It started constantly scanning for danger, for any sign of disapproval or abandonment, because it learned that connection and acceptance were the keys to safety. This isn't a defect. It's a brilliant, outdated survival strategy. It's the part of you that feels small and powerless, because at one time it was. And its deepest, most desperate need is simply to be loved and accepted. So, how this shows up in our lives today. You might recognize this anxious child's influence in your life today. It's that quiet, insistent voice in your head that whispers, "Don't speak up, you'll sound foolish." It's that powerful, almost gravitational pull towards people-pleasing, that impulse to agree when your whole body is screaming no, just to keep the peace and ensure that you're not rocking the boat. It's the profound exhaustion you feel after a party or a meeting, an exhaustion that doesn't come from the interaction itself, but from the immense energy it took to perform,
to constantly manage how you were being perceived. Physically, you might know it as that familiar knot in your stomach before a social event, or that almost magnetic pull towards the corner of the room, hoping to become invisible. These aren't random quirks of your personality. They are the direct communications of this frightened, hypervigilant part of you. So, the journey inward. Now, simply understanding this can be a moment of profound grace, because it means you can stop blaming your adult self for being awkward or too sensitive or broken. You are none of those things. You are an adult who is carrying a frightened part within. And with that realization, your job description changes. You are no longer the defendant on trial for your own personality. You become the compassionate witness, the guide. The first step in reclaiming your power isn't to silence this child or to tell her to get over it. The first real step is to learn to listen, to turn your attention inward, and for the first time, truly acknowledge the part of you that is simply and justifiably afraid. So, to begin this process of listening, I want to offer you 3 gentle invitations for you to explore this week. First, a journal prompt. The next time you feel that anxiety rise, find a quiet moment, take out a journal, and gently ask, "My dear one, what are you most afraid of in this moment?" And then just listen. Don't edit, don't judge. Just write down whatever words, images, or feelings come to the surface. Give it a voice. Next, I want to invite you into an observational exercise. When you feel that wave of social awkwardness, just place a hand on your heart or on your stomach, and for a moment, just notice the pure physical sensation. Is it heat? A tightness in your chest? A fluttering feeling? Try to separate that sensation from the story of panic and just observe it as a signal, a message. And finally, a reflection question for you. Think of a time, recently or long ago, when you felt completely safe and at ease with someone. What was present in that interaction that allowed the anxious part of you to finally rest? This gives us a powerful clue about what safety truly feels like for you. Taking the time to do this is the beginning of building a new relationship with yourself, one where you recognize these feelings not as the problem, but as a profoundly important signal. And that recognition, it leads us to our next crucial question. If this anxiety is just a signal, an alarm bell, then what is the actual fire it's trying to warn us about? So, we've established that this anxiety is a signal, an alarm bell. But for most of us, we've spent our lives trying to silence the alarm, haven't we? Think about the aftermath of a social gathering. You're replaying every single interaction. Did I talk too much? Did I not say enough? Was that joke weird? It's an exhausting mental loop, a frantic search for what we did wrong. We treat the anxiety itself as the problem to be solved. It's like hearing a smoke alarm blaring in your house, and your only focus is trying to find the button to make the noise stop, without ever once stopping to wonder if there's an actual fire. We get stuck trying to fix the alarm. We obsess over finding the perfect outfit, hoping it will act as armor. We rehearse conversations in our head, trying to write the perfect script. But it never works for long because we're addressing the symptom, not the source. The real healing work begins when we stop trying to silence the alarm and instead turn toward it with curiosity. This is the moment we shift from being a victim of our anxiety to becoming a compassionate detective of our own inner world. We get to ask the most powerful question on this journey. What is this anxiety trying to protect me from? When we ask that, we're no longer just reacting to the noise. We're bravely walking toward the smoke, ready to understand its source. So, how do we begin this detective work? This week, I invite you to become the lead investigator of your own experience. When you feel that anxiety rising, instead of being swept away by it, see if you can get curious. Try writing a letter from the anxiety itself. Let it speak. You might start with the simple prompt. I am here because I am trying to protect you from, and just see what flows onto the page. As you move through your week, just notice the patterns. When does the alarm get loudest? Is it in large groups? Is it when you feel put on the spot? Don't try to change anything, just gather the data like a good detective. And as you gather this information, hold one gentle question in your mind. If this is a messenger, what is the core need it's pointing to? Is it a need for safety, for acceptance, for control? Because when we follow this trail of clues, when we bravely ask what we need protection from, we almost always arrive at the same place, a place that holds the oldest and most powerful fear we carry as human beings.
Let's talk about that moment. That moment you send a vulnerable text message, or you share a new idea with someone, and then you wait. And in that silence, a whole universe of anxiety can be born. The minutes stretch on, and the stories begin. I said too much, it was a stupid idea, they're annoyed with me, I ruined it. Why? Why does something so small feel so catastrophic? It's because in that moment, our modern brain is being hijacked by a very, very ancient fear. We're not just feeling awkward. We are feeling the echo of a primal terror. For our ancestors, belonging to the tribe was not a social preference, it was a matter of life and death. To be accepted meant food, safety, and survival. To be cast out, to be rejected, meant you were alone against the wilderness. And our nervous system, it has a very long memory. It hasn't forgotten this. So when we perceive a threat of rejection today, it doesn't just register as a social misstep. It triggers that same ancient life or death alarm bell. Your nervous system isn't just saying, "This is awkward." It's screaming, "Danger! You're about to be cast out." And in response to this, we do what we must to survive. We become chameleons. We hide the authentic parts of ourselves, our quirky humor, our deep sensitivity, our unconventional thoughts, and we trade that authenticity for the promise of safety. But here is the turning point. This is the moment of profound power for us as adults. We can learn to look at that terror and see it for what it is. It's an echo, a brilliant but outdated survival program that is no longer running on the right hardware. The healing, then, isn't about trying to never feel that fear again. It's about realizing that you can survive rejection. You can survive someone not liking you. You can survive being misunderstood. Why? Because you, the conscious adult self, can make the choice to not reject yourself. You can become your own tribe of one. So how do we begin this sacred work of becoming our own internal source of safety? This week, I invite you into an exploration, not a list of tasks, but a gentle turning inward. Begin by simply noticing the small ways you might outsource your sense of worth. Notice when you check your phone not for information, but for validation.
Notice when you hold back an opinion, not from wisdom, but from fear. And when you see it, don't judge, just get curious. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to give myself the acceptance I'm seeking from them right now? To deepen this, I invite you to explore one powerful question in your journal. If I knew with absolute certainty that my worth was not on the table, that it was inherent and unchangeable, how would I move through my day differently? Let that question live with you. Acknowledging this primal fear is a monumental step, but understanding it intellectually isn't enough when we're in the grip of that panic. The question then becomes, what are the actual practical things we can do in the moment to calm that terror? How do we build the emotional muscle to truly become that safe harbor for ourselves?
So we find ourselves standing in the middle of this primal fear. We understand intellectually that it's an echo from the past, but when our heart is pounding and our palms are sweating, intellectual understanding doesn't feel like enough. The question then becomes a very practical one. What do we actually do in that moment? This is where we step into the most sacred and empowering work of this entire journey. It's the practice of what we call self-soothing and inner reparenting. Now, these might sound like clinical terms, but they're not. This is simply the conscious, loving decision to become the calm, stable, and unconditionally loving parent to ourselves that we may have always needed. When that anxious inner child is feeling terror, she doesn't need to be told to get over it. She needs a parent. She needs to know that someone is there, that she is not alone in her fear, and that someone can be you. This is the work that changes everything. Instead of spiraling when you feel awkward, you learn to pause. You learn to speak to yourself with a different voice. The internal critic that says, "You're so awkward, why did you say that?" begins to be replaced by a voice of compassion that says, "Of course you feel scared. This is a hard situation. I'm right here with you. I'm not leaving." It's choosing to leave a party when you feel overwhelmed, not seeing it as a social failure, but as a profound act of self-care and good parenting. This is the work that dissolves our dependency on external validation. When we know how to soothe our own nervous system and validate our own experience, the opinions of others become less of a threat. We are no longer a frightened child looking for a safe harbor out in the world. We learn to become the safe harbor. So, how do we begin to build this emotional muscle? This week, I invite you to create what you might call an emotional first aid kit for your inner child. Take out your journal and make a list of 3 to 5 simple things that genuinely comfort you. This isn't about what you think should comfort you, it's about what actually does. Maybe it's the warmth of a cup of tea, wrapping yourself in a soft blanket, listening to a particular song, or even just looking at pictures of nature on your phone. This is your personal toolkit for when the alarm bells start ringing. Then, I want to offer you a practice you can use anytime, anywhere. I call it the soothing touch. The next time you feel that familiar pang of anxiety, I invite you to simply place one hand on your heart and the other on your belly. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Feel the warmth and the gentle pressure of your own hands. This is not just a symbolic gesture. It's a direct signal of safety to your nervous system. It's a physical way of saying, "I am here." And finally, a reflection to carry with you. Ask yourself, what is one kind, reassuring phrase I needed to hear as a child that I can begin to offer myself now? Maybe it's, "You were loved just as you are," or "It's okay to make mistakes," or simply, "I'm so proud of you for trying." Find your phrase and practice offering it to yourself in moments of need.
As we practice this, as we become this consistent source of safety for ourselves, something remarkable begins to happen. The desperate, frantic need for external validation begins to quiet down. And in that quiet space, a different kind of confidence can finally begin to root deep. Not the loud, brittle, performed kind, but something much more real and much more solid.
As we practice this work of self-soothing, as we become this consistent source of safety for ourselves, something remarkable begins to happen. The desperate, frantic need for external validation begins to quiet down. The noise subsides, and in that quiet space, a different kind of confidence can finally begin to take root. This is where we must draw a crucial distinction. For most of our lives, we've been chasing what I call performed confidence. It's the kind we see on display all the time. It's loud, it can be brittle, and it requires constant effort and validation from an audience. It's about wearing the right clothes, saying the right things, and proving our worth. It's a heavy costume we wear, and at the end of the day, we are exhausted from the performance. But there is another way. Authentic confidence. This isn't a performance at all. It's a state of being. It's quiet. It's solid. It is the natural, unforced result of feeling safe and secure within yourself. It is the deep peace that comes from knowing, in your bones, that your worth is inherent and not up for debate. You can feel the difference in your life. Performed confidence is always worried about what to say next, frantically trying to fill any silence. Authentic confidence is able to listen deeply to the other person because it's not preoccupied with its own performance. Performed confidence often needs to be the center of attention. Authentic confidence is comfortable being quiet. It has the strength to say, "I don't know," without feeling like a failure. It has the courage to be vulnerable, to admit to feeling awkward, which, paradoxically, is one of the most connecting things a person can do. The ultimate goal of this journey, the path of what Jung called individuation, is not to become a confident person in the way the world defines it. The goal is to become so deeply and safely ourselves that confidence is simply the byproduct. The central question of our life shifts from, "How can I get them to like me?" to a much more profound question, "How can I be true to myself in this moment?" So, my invitation to you this week is to explore this distinction in your own life. In your journal, I invite you to write about a time you felt you were performing. What did that feel like in your body? What was the energy like? Now contrast that with the time you felt truly, easefully yourself. What was the difference? As you go about your week, just notice moments when you feel that impulse to perform. Instead of judging it, just get curious. What is the performance designed to achieve? Is it to be seen as smart? To gain approval? To avoid conflict? And finally, a reflection to carry with you. Ask yourself, what does authentic confidence look and feel like to me in my own life? Forget the external definitions. What is your soul's version of confidence?
So we've walked quite a path together today. We started with that painful feeling of social anxiety, and we saw it not as a flaw, but as a signal from our anxious inner child. We followed that signal to its source, that deep, primal fear of rejection that we all carry. But we didn't stop there. We discovered that we hold the key to our own healing. We have the power to become our own loving parent, to soothe our own fears, and in doing so, to cultivate a quiet, solid, authentic confidence from the inside out. The journey out of social awkwardness isn't about becoming someone new. It's about finally, lovingly, and courageously coming home to the person you have always been. Your sensitivity is not a weakness. It is the source of your depth and wisdom. Your desire for connection is not needy. It is the most human thing about you. Remember that you are the expert on your own inner world. This journey is yours, and you have everything you need within you to walk it with grace and courage. This inner work is a gentle, unfolding process, and I am so honored to walk a part of this path with you. I would love to hear from you in the comments. Which part of this journey resonated with you the most today? Your stories and insights create a beautiful, supportive space for all of us. And if this conversation felt like coming home, I invite you to subscribe and press the like button. It helps this work reach others who may need it and ensures you won't miss our next conversation, where we'll be exploring the fascinating concept of the golden shadow and the surprising reasons we hide our own light.